5 new charter schools have been announced, including Te Rito Te Kura Taio, the first of its kind in Northland since charter schools were reintroduced. Te Rito is based in Doubtless Bay in the far north. It's going to open in January and focuses on providing primary age pupils with immersion education in Te Reo Māori. Run by Te Rito Limited, which operates 3 early childhood centres in Kaitaia. The school emphasises a connection to Māori culture and the environment, utilising its 22-hectare property, home to 3 historical pā, as an outdoor science classroom. 4 other charter schools will open in Auckland and Christchurch, offering diverse educational focuses. So we've got Te Reo Māori, we've got creative arts, we've got French immersion, and barrier-free education tailored to students' individual needs, including neurodiverse learners. Association Education Minister David Seymour praises the flexibility and responsiveness of charter schools, emphasising their potential to address the varied needs of families and their students. And he joins me now. David, a very good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon. How are you, Leah?
Oh, well, it's Friday, David. Always happy on a Friday, got to say. Hey, look, quite the diversity, quite the variety here, David. From full reo immersion to French to neurodiverse students. Is this what you envisioned?
Yeah, it is, because we know what we're doing in education is not working for a lot of kids. So we can keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. I think Einstein said that's the definition of insanity. Or we can try something different. The question is, where do you get the ideas? Sorry to say they're not in the Ministry of Education, but there are people in our community, and actually some people from outside New Zealand, that do have better ideas. And it was a very special day yesterday. You saw Te Rito, as you mentioned. These guys have built up 4 puna reo, or Maori early childhood centres, with 150 kids. So that's actually a pretty decent early childhood centres. And you think about it, this is an area at the very tip of the North Island, next to Kaitaia, where a lot of people don't have a lot of trust in the education system or the government, it's fair to say. And these guys have managed to get the kids to show up and go to early childhood education. So let's see what they can achieve if we also say, okay, here's a contract to run a charter school. If you can get the kids to show up and learn, then we will keep funding you. Same funding that we would have been sending for those children's education at a state school. So, it's very exciting. We also got a group who actually are French teachers, and not just they teach French, they are French. And they are offering education under the French qualification system, the International Baccalaureate, partly because there are some French people here who maybe get posted in New Zealand for a couple of years and they want their kids to keep learning the French qualifications, but also because there's parents in New Zealand who say, look, actually, France has got lots of ups and downs, but their education system's pretty renowned for being solid. Why shouldn't you be able to learn in English and in French and get an internationally recognised qualification that's actually one of the most widely circulated in the world? So that was pretty exciting. And then we got Busy School from over in Australia. They've got 9 campuses over there. They specialise in setting up schools to engage children who have maybe been a bit disengaged, shall we say, children that might be neurodiverse, and basically get them back on the straight and narrow of attending and learning. And they've got a really good track record in Australia, because what they do is they actually get kids into a trade and an apprenticeship, so vocational education. Basically, all their students come to them pretty tapped out of education. Basically, all of them go out with a career pathway. So, that's really exciting. And I know I'm going on, but I just got to tell you about one more. North Christchurch School is actually a group of state school principals. So people think that state schools are opposed to charters. They're not. These state school principals have said, look, we've all got students in our school who really have tapped out, they're disengaged. We think that there should be a school in our region which actually is prepared to get these children re-engaged. And I think it's going to be a huge success, because we know that there are children that school isn't working for. Doesn't mean that as New Zealand citizens they don't deserve an education. So that's 4 of them. And I think it's a very exciting day, because we're using the same money that would have gone to educate these kids anyway. But the truth is, many children aren't showing up or aren't enrolled anymore. So if it costs any extra, it's because we're giving every citizen an education.
Well, David, you mentioned success, and how will the success for these new schools be measured? I mean, what benchmarks are in place for their long-term viability? How do you ensure accountability and quality within these newly announced charter schools?
Well, the first thing is if they don't get any students showing up, they don't get paid. So they've got to actually enrol students. And people often forget this, that the choice is with the parents to actually enrol them there. And as they're new schools, they're going to have to actively do that. From the government side, given we're the custodian of the taxpayer money they get, there's basically two things they have to do. First is they have to achieve 90% student attendance, obviously on average. And the second thing they have to do is they have to get a level of academic achievement, and that depends on the year level, that is better than the average for a state school, basically. So it depends on whether the kid's particularly disadvantaged, and we have ways of calculating that. So the targets have to be realistic, than they would do at a state school. And obviously, if you don't make these targets, they can be shut down. The big difference here is that, sure, these guys get their money in cash and they get flexibility. But at a state school, the kids don't show up, the kids don't pass. There's actually nothing that the government can do. That's not actually a problem, technically or legally, that we can do anything about. Whereas with charter schools, we're giving them a pretty wide berth to run the school their way, but they have to succeed.
Actually, Dave, this leads me nicely to, Māori culture, because yesterday I spoke with Todd Stevenson on the Nursing Council's new competency standards for nurses that are set to be implemented early next year, which, amongst other things, requires a nurse to be able to describe the impact of colonisation and advocate for cultural and spiritual health. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I'm sure that's not quite accurate. They'll be required to give a description of colonisation that fits the views of the person that set the exam.
But why do they need to know that, David? That's the point.
Yeah. Well, I know, but I'm just saying. I bet you it's not an open question when you write whatever you think. Why would they need to know this? Because we've become obsessed with the idea that what happened 200 years before you were born is more important than what you do this week. I'm in favour of just treating each person as you find them, recognising that all of us are multifaceted. I believe that we should actually start to regard each other as humans that are thinking and valuing. They might surprise us sometimes with what they want or what they believe, rather than putting everyone into boxes and saying, well, if you're a Māori patient, obviously all you think about is colonisation and I can't understand you without taking a certain view of it. That's wrong. So I understand why the nurses have been made to do it. It's because the people setting the exams are completely nuts.